as a man from Europe countries, it should be very cheap for you to live in Russia, was it?
It was mostly, but that's because of two things. First, student dormitories in Russia, at least so the university at village in Kazan, was very, very cheap. And I also think that in Nizhny Novgorod right now, it's also going to be cheaper than my room in Innsbruck. So that's one big point. And the second thing, that the general costs of living in Russia are lower. I think you could say by half. But if you then say, okay, I'm going to take the money I save for cost of living and put it into train tickets so I can get everywhere I want to get, then it's going to be about the same. And it is very much dependent on the exchange rate between rubles and euros. So when I was in Kazan 2 years ago, I went there when the exchange rate was about the same as it was now. So right now €1 is 78 rubles. And over the course of the semester it fell to €1 being 68 rubles, so 10 rubles difference. And that's something you really feel just when you try to get money. And right now it's again on this very favorable exchange rate for me. It's not so good for you.
Now all Russians hate you.
So sorry. No, so right now it's very good for me, and let's say it's cheaper by half approximately. Which is super cool because you have a lot of possibilities. And what is also amazing about Russia, so there are another two things. First, museums, theaters, basically everything where you have to pay an entrance fee, there is some kind of student discount. And especially speaking about Petersburg here, the Hermitage, that's the biggest museum in the world. I just learned it today, they have 3,500,000 exponates there. So not all displayed at the same time, but still 3,500,000 pieces that you can watch. And with a Russian student ID, that was the word I was looking for, you can get in there for completely free. That's something you should do because it's amazing in there. You can spend a day or two at least and you still have stuff to see.
And talking about the expenses, without all travelings, how much did you spend every month?
That's a difficult question. That's a very difficult question. So in Austria I try to spend €50 a week for food and stuff, but it usually ends up getting more. So I'd say, because I was going for coffee quite a lot and also eating, well, not cooking myself, I think it was €30-40 a week. That times 4, it's like, that's about €200 to €300 a month. But then you're living on a very, very high standard. And I'm pretty sure I messed up some numbers right now. Maybe it's lower, maybe it's higher, probably lower. But you can either live very cheaply when you're cooking yourself all the time, or you can have a kind of lavish and expensive lifestyle.
As I know, you had a girlfriend, and how was it to have a Russian girl? And is there any difference between Russian women and foreign?
To be honest, I'm still trying to figure that out. Because she is a very, very special case in a sense that some of her views are very European.
Okay.
I don't know how to put it really. In a sense about what she thinks about the position of men and women in society, rights of gay people or transgender people and all that stuff. And she's very open-minded in that regard. But on the other hand, there are some also pictures and kind of ideals how a man should be. And to my mind, that's just a straight Russian man, more or less. So what I imagine a Russian man to be, just someone who does things, someone she can rely on and look up to. And there's a difficulty there because European women sometimes don't really like to depend on their men. They want to be independent and do stuff themselves, and it's kind of like a balancing act between those sometimes European views and those, let's say, Russian role models. And that's something that I think is causing a lot of difficulty. At the same time, they can be she can be extremely supportive, to an extreme level. That's something what you probably wouldn't get from a European girl. And also be a lot more passionate and a lot more emotional. Sorry, I interrupted you. What do you want to say?
Exactly what I wanted to ask you.
It's harder at first, let's say. It's just harder to break the ice, really. But apart from that, apart from really this first ice breaking and the cultural differences, the cultural differences, I actually think it's way more interesting. I'd say. Maybe that's just me. I don't know.
You like
It's
you
very
like
hard.
difficulties.
Let's say it is very hard, but it's definitely worth the struggle when it works out. When it doesn't work out, damn, it's torture. But if it works out, it's kind of like cloud nine, more or less.